Hey horror fans, Bored now, back with you. On this video I will be reviewing the new release M3gan, the brand new hit from Blumhouse, which is a really surprise hit, storming the box office in the early weeks of 2023. Bit of a surprise, especially since it's a first time film. It's not part of a massive franchise, although because of its runaway success for a horror on a sort of mini budget, then it does mean they've already put a sequel in the works. So it's another big hit for Blumhouse. Directed by Gerard Johnston, got a writing credit by James Wan, who amongst other things involved in the Insidious franchise, so quite a big horror name. Of that sort of doll gone wrong style story, almost like a more sci-fi version of Chucky, more to do with the doll malfunctioning and eventually turning evil. So Katie, played by Violet McGrew of Haunting of Hill House fame and a few other things, she at the start of the movie loses her parents in a tragic car accident, which she is quite badly injured in as well, and as her natural sort of guardian, or the guardian assigned anyway, you've got her auntie Gemma who takes her in, and Gemma's played by Alison Williams, who was in Get Out as another Blumhouse film and also was in the TV series Girls, so that's what she's best known for. So she plays the assigned guardian of Katie after the loss of her parents, and she works at this tech company who are involved in developing high-tech toys for kids, and it's a fierce competition with a rival, and Gemma is like the top scientist there who is tasked with coming up with the next big creation, and she's had one or two duds, like she's created these robotic style toys that haven't quite gone right, and then one day around the time that Katie comes to stay with her, she stumbles upon M3gan, a more advanced model, which is an eye-opener for the boss, and he along with like the big sort of stockholder, he bankrolls it and says, yes, let's get these in the shop as soon as possible after we've done the necessary like tests and development. And so this coincides with Katie coming to live with Gemma, and she is understandably very like lonely, isolated. She doesn't really know Gemma that well, but as you know, been thrust into this new life. So she's looking for a friend, and she, of course, gets a friend, an almost too perfect friend in M3gan, which is the robotic doll which which Gemma brings home. They start to bond, everything's going quite neat, but then along the way, things take a turn where, for example, M3gan rubs up against the neighbour who's always getting in like Gemma's face, causing trouble with her dog, various things, and along the way it becomes that sort of Chucky style thing where like M3gan starts to stand up for Katie when she's being bullied, but she takes it to a whole extreme, and people start dying, people are put in danger, and the stakes sort of stack up as we get closer to this presentation, and slowly Gemma, who's sort of very busy with her work but also seemingly wants to do the right thing with Katie, you know, slowly starts to realise that actually something is going wrong here, and that she has to be the responsible type guardian. So the setup for the film, and this has got a fair bit of hype, partly because it's been a surprise hit, and it ticks a lot of the boxes, I guess, for like a sci-fi horror type crowd. And I had a good time with it. I liked it a lot. It's a very easy watch. If you like this sort of movie, then I think this really ticks all the boxes. It's very sort of stylish. It's well done. Like the animatronics of M3gan are very convincing, I thought. And it's just one of these where you have a simple sort of premise, and once you really get into it, the film has a lot of fun with it, because that's the point of it. And I know some people find this sort of film like silly and unconvincing, and there's definitely times where it gets very silly, but it's silly in a very tongue-in-cheek way. It's silly in a very, this is a pulpy, fun horror movie sort of way, and because it sort of sets up some of the characters around the main characters as being really unlikable sort of douches, like the neighbour. The neighbour is like a total cartoon, to be honest, but that's what makes it so fun, where she kind of gets her comeuppance. It gets a bit edgy, you know. I mean, killing the dog is a bit much from M3gan, but you know, I mean, that's obviously where the film is going, that she's out of control. Another thing is, I don't think they ever explain exactly what's happened with her, exactly why she goes off the rails. I guess it's just, once again, a cautionary tale in like relying on technology too much. But once you get into the horror stuff, there are some fun horror moments. There's some good kills in it. And as I said, the way they do like the animatronics on M3gan, and some just the level of details, like her facial expressions, just how like detailed some of her movements and actions are, and the way she's always got this stare to her, like she's staring out the window at the neighbour, she's listening in on conversations. All that stuff is so well. Like the actress who voices her does a really great job. I think she manages to be really playful but also threatening. And the cast are good in general. I think Alison Williams is well cast. You've got I think she's good because she comes across as being quite nerdy and quite sort of awkward. So the sort of person who would maybe dedicate her career to this kind of thing. But she never seems like a complete monster. She always seems like reasonably grounded. It's just then she's someone who's been thrown into this new life where she has to look after Katie. And I think one of the ideas of the film is then, because she's thrown herself into like this world of technology, and that becomes almost the only thing she knows, because she's constantly trying to invent stuff and stay ahead of the curve. And as a result, I think that means she's lost touch with some of the reality around her, and lost touch with like human relationships. She doesn't really have that many people in her life. I think it's indicated she's quite close with one of the people at the lab as well, one of the other designers. They seem quite close, but in general she doesn't seem like that attached to many people. Like, she really throws herself into her work sort of thing. So I think Alison Williams plays her quite well, plays her as also someone who is can be a bit naive and aloof and quite, career driven, but I do like that they didn't make her too unlikable. Like, they didn't really push that too far, which I think sometimes these films will. And also Violet McGrew, I think, is very good as Katie. She's just such a natural young girl, really, very sort of playful, very sort of cute. She has like a vulnerability to her. She really has a rage to her. You see that later on in the film, but without being like perfect or a total like standout film that you're going to be maybe talking about at the end of the year. I think it's very watchable, very enjoyable. It has like a black sort of comedy tone to it, where it sort of makes it clear that it's never taking itself too seriously. Like, it does play into like some genre type tropes and stuff, but it does it in a very like inventive, convincing sort of way. And the characters are like watchable and likable as well. It's solid direction, but I think it has that right balance where it's not taking itself too seriously, and I think that is the right thing to do in this sort of film, because it's really hard for people to take a premise like this too seriously. Having said that, I think there are like modern themes to it. Like, it is quite convincing in then it feels like a very modern space where at times people fill their lives up with technology, or they fill their lives up with accessories, if you like, and sometimes they can lose a bit of contact with the outside world. So it's not like obviously a full-on satire like some sci-fi movies where they're really unpacking this stuff, but it definitely has that in the film. Like stuff like when Gemma is like wants to read a story to Katie, there's a scene where she has to like download the app. She has to like update the software so that she can get the app to read her a story, and that's like just a little comment on if she had the book to hand, she could start reading it rather than having to wait a few minutes. And that's just a little comment on some things we've lost when you go a bit too far with the technology or rely on it too much, because it's revealed she doesn't really have any books in the house because she doesn't read physical books anymore, and she's just this person. Like, there's just those examples where she does rely so heavily on technology. I really love the opening of the film where it actually has like an advert for like one of these, I can't remember what they call them exactly, but these like robotic toy dolls which she's created, which are like miniature type thing, and then it's so perfect, it's so spot on, because it's like one of those cheesy, almost Cabbage Pail Kids type ads that you would see like on Sunday morning TV, or a lot of times over here in the UK they have them like, I don't know, just on a Saturday or Sunday morning, but at quite early in the day, like before, you know, at the time that you might have like children's programming. So it's so perfect. It just feels like one of those ads to a T. So it's a great way to open the film, because those are like the models which aren't like selling that well, or there's been a malfunction, so it's too high risk, and that leads to the discovery of M3gan, who is a more advanced model, and they just get the perfect sort of mood to her and to the way the story builds around her, where things seem a little bit too good to be true. Like, she's too close to Katie, like she's too much of a best friend. But it's a fun film. There's some good gags. There's some fun, as I said, horror moments, some quite tense horror moments. Obviously, M3gan has some cool visual moments which have already been, you know, reproduced so many times online, with the shades, for example, where she does sort of a dance in the scene near the end where she's coming after like the obnoxious like boss of Gemma, like she's chasing him down. And when you watch the plot and when you see the levels that she goes to kill people, or to like cover her own tracks, because she has this whole thing really well thought out, and it is absurd, but I think it's meant to be. It's meant to be over the top and pulpy. Like, you're not supposed to take it too seriously. But I was pleased that we got some good horror scenes, some horror scenes that were entertaining and violent, but also had a little bit of a tension where you're never quite sure where they were going to go. It's really fun seeing, you know, like the fight back and forth between M3gan and Gemma late on in the film, and seeing Gemma slowly turn around and see that, yeah, hey, I'm actually not doing the right thing by Katie, but there's just certain things where it's played for black humour, like the way M3gan like disposes of the bully who just naturally goes after like Katie and picks on her at this camp. And there's just some cute little shots like M3gan nestled in between the other toys, because like Gemma tells her, Katie that is, you can take her with you as long as she stays with the other toys. And of course that's not going to last long, but just some of the way the characters act, it's definitely going for a more over-the-top, absurdist sort of way. But there are themes in there. There's gags as well. And it's just well done. It's generally well done all the way through. And there's some good use of music as well. Pretty good soundtrack. Some good... like... One scene that really made me laugh sort of out loud is the scene where Gemma comes home and like M3gan's waiting for her, and she's like escaped the lab because she's meant to be there for this presentation, and then Gemma has realised and no, this is going to go wrong, and she leaves her back at the lab, but she ends up escaping, and she's just waiting there. And it's just this hilarious scene because she's sitting by the piano, M3gan is, and she starts playing it, and I can't remember the song now, but she starts playing the opening notes of this song, which is like just something where the theme of the song is to do with like being like left by your love or something, like just sort of tossed aside type thing. It's quite a well-known song, but just the irony of M3gan playing this song as like she's actually getting like human emotion. She feels like portrayed by Gemma, so that's really funny. And the end of the film was really entertaining and had a little bit of tension. And once again, it's one of these films where it's actually the younger character, the kid, that being Katie, who comes through in the end, and she's like, they sort of do it between them where they sort of strip M3gan down, and you almost get a Terminator style scene where she's like lost a lot of her coverings, and you sort of think she's dead, but she's keep going, and they finally find whatever it's meant to be, like the battery, almost like the heart, like in the middle of the face, and eventually it's Katie who like cracks it, so takes her down. But of course there's a hint at the end that she could still be alive in some form. And now I don't know, because when they made this they weren't really sure 100%. They probably figured it's a low budget film, we're getting a big release, so there's a chance it'll make money and that'll be enough. But they couldn't have known for sure when this was made, so it might have just been one of those endings just to play with you. But it's panned out anyway. They're getting their sequel, and it's one of those things. I'm happy to watch another one of these. I think as long as you've got the right people involved, as long as you've got the right tone, and they just have fun with it and just change things up a little bit, I can't see any reason why this can't be a fun little sort of franchise, like a mini franchise. I don't know if we need to have like 10 or 12 of them, I think that would be overkill, but 3 or 4, maybe I could sort of see, as long as the right people stay involved and the tone. But it's enjoyable. It's enjoyable for the audience it's going for. If you're not that audience, then I can maybe see why you would find it a bit silly and overall not that great to watch. But if you're in the target audience, then to me this is gonna tick a lot of the boxes. So that's my thoughts on M3gan with a 3 instead of an E, of course. And it is becoming a little bit of a phenomenon with horror fans, obviously, that they're doing the sort of online Twitter war with her and Chucky, which is really funny. But So that's my thoughts on M3gan. Rating wise, I'll give it a 7.5 out of 10. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Like and subscribe. As always, share me out on social media. And I'll be back with more horror reviews soon. I will just say, unfortunately, Rachel couldn't make this one, as you can tell. But I know she was looking forward to this film. So hopefully in the future we will have a discussion of it as well. Because it'll be good to have her views. But that's my review of M3gan. And I'll see you guys again soon. Take care.